It's all too easy to get cynical about the Honda WRV. You might look at it and go, well, that's just a jacked up Jazz with some off-road bits added to it. And strictly speaking, you wouldn't be wrong. Honda doesn't have a sub 4 meter SUV, and to fill that gap in the range, they've got this crossover. But you shouldn't be cynical about the Honda WRV because ever since it was launched in 2017, it has sold in rather good numbers. And that's because people see it for what it is. A compact, spacious and practical crossover with a Honda badge on its nose. And now there's a new facelifted version and I'm going to drive it for you today. While we're out here, let's have a look at the exterior changes that have come with the WRV facelift. There is certainly a bolder look to the face where, as before, the chrome band on the grille extends wide and joins the headlamps at their base. But the headlamps themselves are now of the LED projector variety, with a lot of nice detailing inside the large units. The grille beneath the chrome bar has more prominent horizontal slats, giving the impression of being larger. And finally, the fog lamps, which are now also LED powered and feature thicker black surrounds. At the rear and down the sides, not much has changed at all. You'll find a new design for the 16-inch alloy wheels, but only on the diesel version, and reprofiled tail lamps which sit in blacked out frames and feature LED lighting. But just what do you think of the WRV's new look? Do you think it looks sharper than the previous version, and would you pick its crossover body style over the more conventional boxy stance of the other sub 4 meter SUVs? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe to the Autocar India channel for great regular automotive content and click the bell icon to stay notified. Step inside and even less has changed. You're still treated to the smartly designed angular all-black dashboard as before, with a few brushed aluminium trim embellishments. And while plastic quality is generally pretty good, you won't find any soft touch materials here. The only change seems to be the seat upholstery, which gets a new embossed pattern that looks a bit sportier. And in a similar vein, it's unfortunate that the equipment list has stayed largely the same too. And while it is decent, rivals have taken the game far ahead. Highlights from before are the sunroof, the neat driver's side cup holder that folds out, and the love it or hate it touch console for the auto climate control. The 7-inch touchscreen does feel a bit aftermarket, but it has onboard navigation and supports Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. The bigger issue is that, like in the new City, the screen is a bit too dull, making it hard to read in bright sunlight, and that's especially true of the rear-view camera's feed. What's new? Well, there's the aforementioned LED exterior lighting, but that's about it. Over to the backseat where, once again, things are much the same. While the WRV might not have the big boxy proportions of conventional sub 4 meter SUVs, thanks to Honda's legendary interior packaging skills, there's still loads of space inside the cabin. Just look at the amount of knee room I have, and even headroom, again though not quite as good as a boxy sub 4 meter SUV, is rather good. The seat itself is pretty comfortable with good cushioning, but there are a few things I miss back here. Number one, definitely rear AC vents. There's also no charging facilities back here, there's no center armrest, and these headrests are not adjustable and set very, very low. And the big space extends to the boot, which at 363 litres is more than what you get in any of the current compact SUVs. And though the backseat doesn't split, you can fold it down for more luggage room. So far, so similar to the old car then, but what are the new BS6 engines like to drive? Let's start with this petrol engine. A characteristic this 1.2 litre petrol engine shares with its larger 1.5 litre sibling that you'll find in the City is that it loves to rev. It's something we've loved about VTEC and iVTEC engines right from the very first City VTEC in India. In fact, it's almost a shame that the rev counter on this car is so tiny because the needle just jumps through it really, really fast. Get it into the rev band, put your foot down, and it just races across all the way to a limiter at 6,500 RPM. Wow. Now, while all those revs might feel quite exciting, they don't quite translate to amazing numbers. 0 to 100 kph comes up in 15.1 seconds, which is almost a whole second slower than the BS4 version, incidentally. The thing is, while that is a lot of fun, most people in everyday driving don't go chasing after the red line. In traffic and in the city, you tend to want to keep it in one gear and just pootle along. So how does this engine handle that? Well, another characteristic of iVTEC engines is a good amount of pep at low revs, a slightly flat mid-range, and yes, that very exciting top end. And all of that is characteristic of this engine too. Trouble is, you have to make sure you stay out of that flat mid-range. And that means at path throttle, say when you're in third gear in traffic and you want to get a move on, you do find yourself having to shift down. A lot. Sure, the snappy short throw gear lever makes doing that fun, but you miss the effortlessness you get from other engines in this class. And even when you do downshift, things aren't always all smooth. In the transition to BS6, however, it seems to have lost some of that lovely low-end pep that you used to get before. And that's a shame because you really need that when you're setting off from a set of traffic lights, for example. It's not all bad news though, because compared to most compact SUVs, the WRV has one distinct advantage. What enthusiasts will also love about the WRV is that it is a fun handler. You see, unlike its direct rivals, which are sub 4 meter SUVs, it hasn't committed to a tall, boxy body style. And therefore, it has an inherently lower center of gravity, and that only means more fun in the corners. Plus, the bigger wheels and wider tires give you more confidence than you'd get in its hatchback sibling, the Jazz. Perhaps the only thing I'd have liked was a little bit more weight from this steering. At speed, it doesn't quite weigh up nicely enough as you go faster, but it still remains sharp and direct, so lean into a corner and the car follows suit very tidily. Ride quality too is absolutely top notch. They've nailed a really good blend of bump absorption and softness with this car. Now, while the Jazz hatchback will be petrol only in BS6 guys due to low demand for the diesel variant, the WRV does sell well in diesel guys, so they've upgraded the 1.5 iDTEC engine to meet the new emissions norms. And the following day we got hold of that version. Right, welcome to day 2 of driving the Honda WRV. Today I'm in the diesel car and things are, well, as you'd expect really. It's the same 1.5 litre iDTEC diesel engine as before with 100 horsepower and 200 Newton meters of torque. So the output numbers haven't changed, but has the driving experience? The first thing that catches your attention right out of the door is the noise that this engine makes. Now, I think there has been a slight improvement compared to the BS4 version, but you'll still hear quite a bit of clatter at idle, and there's a constant drone that you'll hear as you accelerate. Once again, as before though, once you get used to the noise, this is an excellent engine when it comes to the way it drives. It's responsive right from the moment you touch the accelerator pedal, and it continues to pull steadily all the way to the red line. It's not a particularly explosive or exciting engine, instead it's very predictable and very linear. And because it's so tractable at all revs, you very rarely feel the need to change gears, even in traffic. So, just the opposite of the petrol engine then. Performance-wise, the BS6 WRV diesel does 0 to 100 kph in 13.03 seconds, which is 0.38 seconds slower than the BS4 diesel car. And the difference only grows wider when you consider in-gear acceleration from 20 to 80 in third and 40 to 100 in fourth. And that's not the only number that's not as good as before. Now, we haven't had the chance to do our full Autocar fuel efficiency test just yet, but the ARAI rating for this diesel car is 23.7 kpl. But that's down by 1.8 kpl compared to the BS4 car. This is partly because Honda has used the lean NOx trap method to make this engine BS6 compliant. And this process requires a periodic injection of rich fuel mixture to neutralize the pollutants trapped in the filter. Incidentally, the petrol car's ARAI rated fuel efficiency is 16.5 kpl, which is 1 kpl lower than the BS4 version. As facelifts go then, the WRVs is as minor as they get. Sure, the new face and the headlight accents do make it look a bit bolder, but apart from that, not much else has changed, and I don't only mean to the way it looks. Even on the inside, I wish they'd have improved things and maybe added some more equipment, but that hasn't been done. More than any equipment though, the one thing this car sorely misses is an automatic gearbox, and nowadays when people are opting for that transmission more, it's really a missed opportunity with the WRV. Now priced from 8.5 lakh to 10.99 lakh, this car is a little bit less than its conventional compact SUV rivals, but then it doesn't offer quite as much as those cars do either. So the WRV then continues to offer what the WRV before it did, and those are strengths of space, practicality in a relatively compact package with peace of mind and a few fun to drive dynamics thrown in. I just wish they'd taken this opportunity to improve it and make it a more attractive package overall.